November 26, 1922. British archaeologist Howard Carter made a small hole in the sealed doorway of Tutankhamun's tomb. He held up a candle and peered inside. When his sponsor, Lord Carnarvon, asked him patiently, "Can you see anything?" Carter replied with words that would become immortal, "Yes, wonderful things." But wonderful things came with a terrible price. Within months, people connected to the tomb's discovery began dying under mysterious circumstances. Lord Carnarvon himself was dead within 4 months. At the exact moment he died in his Cairo hotel room, all the lights in the city mysteriously went out. Back in England, his dog howled and dropped dead at the same instant. An American financier who visited the tomb died of pneumonia. A radiologist who x-rayed the mummy died of unknown causes. A British archaeologist who entered the tomb died suddenly. One by one, people connected to King Tut's tomb were dying, and newspapers around the world screamed about the pharaoh's curse. The legend claimed that an inscription found in the tomb warned, "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." By 1930, just 8 years after the tomb's opening, 11 people connected to the discovery were dead. Was this an ancient curse taking revenge? Or was something else happening? Modern science has discovered that sealed Egyptian tombs do contain something deadly, but it's not supernatural. It's biological. Ancient molds, bacteria, and fungi that have survived for thousands of years in the sealed, oxygen-poor environment. When tombs are opened, these pathogens become airborne, and people breathe them in. The mummy's curse is real, but not in the way anyone expected. Lord Carnarvon's death is the most famous curse victim and the one that started the hysteria. George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon, was a wealthy British aristocrat who funded Howard Carter's excavations for years. He was 56 years old when King Tut's tomb was discovered. In March 1923, just 4 months after entering the tomb, Carnarvon was in Cairo when he was bitten on the cheek by a mosquito. While shaving in his hotel bathroom, he accidentally cut open the mosquito bite with his razor. This was before the discovery of penicillin and antibiotics. The small wound became infected. Within days, the infection had spread through his bloodstream, causing blood poisoning and pneumonia. He developed a high fever and became delirious. On April 5, 1923, Lord Carnarvon died in the Continental Savoy Hotel in Cairo. Now here's where the story becomes legendary and impossible to verify. Multiple people claimed that at the exact moment Carnarvon died, at 1:50 a.m., all the lights in Cairo went out simultaneously, plunging the entire city into darkness for several minutes. The Egyptian government never confirmed this. Power outages were actually common in 1920s Cairo, so it could have been coincidence. Even stranger, Carnarvon's son reported that back at the family estate in England, Carnarvon's beloved dog howled mournfully and died at the same time his master died thousands of miles away. When Howard Carter's team later unwrapped King Tutankhamun's mummy, they discovered a wound on the mummy's left cheek in the exact same location as the mosquito bite that killed Carnarvon. This coincidence, whether true or embellished, convinced millions that the curse was real. The newspapers had found their story, and they ran with it for decades. Lord Carnarvon was just the beginning. The deaths continued with disturbing frequency. Arthur Mace, the American archaeologist who actually helped Carter break through the sealed doorway, died in the same Cairo hotel as Carnarvon just months later. Official cause of death, unknown. He had complained of extreme exhaustion and simply never woke up. George J. Gould, a wealthy American railroad magnate, visited the tomb in 1923 despite warnings about the curse. He developed a fever immediately after and died of pneumonia months later. Prince Ali Camelfami Bey of Egypt visited the tomb and was shot dead in London's Savoy Hotel shortly after in what was ruled a murder by his wife, though cursed believers saw supernatural forces at work. Archibald Douglas Reed, a radiologist who x-rayed Tutankhamun's mummy, died of a mysterious illness shortly after. Sir Bruce Ingham, a friend of Carter who received a paperweight made from a mummified hand as a gift, watched his house burn down shortly after receiving it. When it was rebuilt, it was destroyed by flooding. Hugh Evelyn White, a British archaeologist who helped excavate the tomb, committed suicide in 1924, leaving a note that read, "I have succumbed to a curse which forces me to disappear." Richard Bethel, Carter's personal secretary, was found dead in his London club in 1929 at age 35. Cause of death: bed, suffocation, unexplained. Bethel's father, Lord Westbury, devastated by his son's death, jumped from his seventh-floor apartment to his death. As Lord Westbury's body was being taken to the cemetery for burial, the hearse ran over and killed an 8-year-old boy. By 1930, the body count had reached 11 deaths directly connected to the tomb's discovery. The media kept a running tally. The curse had become a worldwide sensation. But here's where science enters the story and reveals something the newspapers of the 1920s never considered. In the 1960s and 70s, microbiologists began studying the air inside sealed Egyptian tombs. What they found was genuinely dangerous but completely natural. Ancient tombs are perfect breeding grounds for toxic molds and bacteria. The sealed, low-oxygen environment preserves not just mummies, but also microorganisms that have survived for thousands of years. When archaeologists break the seal and fresh air rushes in, these dormant pathogens become active and airborne. The most common danger is Aspergillus, a genus of mold that colonizes mummies and tomb walls. When disturbed and inhaled, Aspergillus can cause severe respiratory infections, especially in people with weakened immune systems. This condition is now medically recognized and called cave disease, or more specifically in Egyptian contexts, tomb fever. Lord Carnarvon's lungs were already weakened from a serious car accident years earlier, making him especially vulnerable. Arthur Mace was known to be in poor health. These men breathed in ancient air filled with millennia-old biological hazards their immune systems had never encountered. In the 1970s, researchers studying the tomb of King Casimir IV of Poland all fell mysteriously ill with respiratory problems after opening the sealed coffin. Tests revealed toxic fungi that had survived in the sealed environment for centuries. The curse was actually ancient biology taking revenge. Modern archaeologists now wear protective masks, respirators, and sometimes full hazmat suits when entering newly opened tombs. They allow fresh air to circulate for days or weeks before extended work begins. They test the air for dangerous pathogens. The scientific precautions prove that tombs do contain real dangers, just not supernatural ones. First, let's look at the evidence objectively. First, the famous curse inscription, "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king," never actually existed in Tutankhamun's tomb. Carter never mentioned finding such an inscription. It was invented by newspapers to sell copies. Second, statistical analysis shows the death rate among people who entered the tomb was not significantly higher than the general population of similar age and social class in that era. Many people who entered King Tut's tomb lived long lives. Howard Carter himself, who spent more time in the tomb than anyone, lived until 1939, dying of lymphoma at age 64, 17 years after the discovery. Dr. Douglas Derry, who performed the autopsy on Tutankhamun's mummy, lived until 1961, dying at age 87. Lady Evelyn Herbert, Lord Carnarvon's daughter who was present at the tomb's opening, lived until 1980, dying at age 79. If there was a curse, it was remarkably selective. Third, many of the so-called curse victims had perfectly explainable deaths. George J. Gould was 71 and had health problems. Prince Fahmy was murdered by his wife in a domestic dispute. Lord Westbury committed suicide from grief over his son's death, not curse-related. Fourth, people die all the time. In any group of 50 or 60 people associated with an event, some will die within a decade. That's statistics, not supernatural vengeance. The confirmation bias is obvious. People remembered the deaths and forgot everyone who lived. The curse persists because humans love mystery, fear death, and enjoy the idea that ancient powers still exist in our rational modern world. It's a better story than some people got sick from mold. The truth about the mummy's curse is more nuanced than either believers or skeptics admit. The curse as a supernatural force doesn't exist. There's no evidence of ancient Egyptian magic killing people across continents. The curse inscription was fabricated. Statistical analysis shows no unusual death patterns. But ancient tombs do contain real dangers: toxic molds, dangerous bacteria, and pathogens that have survived millennia. Tomb fever is medically recognized. People have genuinely gotten sick and died from opening tombs. So the curse is both false and true, depending on how you define it. The ancient Egyptians didn't curse their tombs with magic spells, but they accidentally created sealed biological time bombs that remained dangerous 3,000 years later. Perhaps the most interesting aspect is why the curse legend persists despite evidence against it. It persists because it taps into primal human fears: fear of death, fear of the unknown, fear of disturbing the dead, and fear that some things are beyond our control and understanding. The curse reminds us that even in our scientific age, there are mysteries, dangers, and consequences we don't fully comprehend. Ancient Egypt maintains its power to fascinate, frighten, and inspire awe. Whether you believe in supernatural curses or natural pathogens, one thing is certain: opening a 3,000-year-old tomb is dangerous. Disturbing the dead has consequences, and the ancient Egyptians, whether through magic or accident, created tombs that still protect their secrets with deadly effectiveness. The mummy's curse may not be supernatural, but it's real enough to kill.